Hello, and welcome to JD's Horror Emporium. My name is JD McBride, and tonight, I have one hell of a story I dug out of the archives for you. They say the trees dance in the moonlight when not a soul is watching them. These tall, silent gods conceal their influence from humanity. They watch over us during the day and rejoice in their duty when there is none awake to watch. Over the years, I have seen this celebration many times. The trees have grown to know and love me. They shared their wisdom with me while I observed their midnight ritual. They told me secrets I have yet to make sense of. They have told me stories of generations past. I would like to emphasize that I am not extraordinary in this regard. Any person who respects the forest and truly loves its constituents will have that love and respect rewarded. You needn't be born with a gift to listen to the forest's knowledge and receive their love. All you need is an open mind and pure heart. They know how to distinguish the malicious from the moral. They are masters at telling lambs from wolves. The uninitiated person walking through the trees at night causes the celebration to halt. The trees understand that the trespasser does not know what they are interrupting. They allow passage if one does not linger, but the longer a person obstructs the trees' nocturnal jubilee, the more vexed they become. The trees hold great power. I cannot stress this point enough. They are disciples of the forgotten earth god, doing his bidding. The trees are to be treated with great reverence. For the most part, they are friendly to humans, protecting and assisting pure souls in their own mysterious way. However, if you do harm to the forest, or intrude upon their nightly activities for too long, they can exact the wrath of the earth god. Betraying the forest's love is a reprehensible act, and will lead to consequences. Many people have disappeared without a trace within the vast forests. Some people turn up miles away from where they were last seen, mutilated, tortured. It is unwise to provoke the trees, for their rage can grow to be powerful beyond measure. Their loving nature is not to be mistaken for impotence. I have personally studied dozens of cases of these impure souls angering the trees and paying the price. Loggers draw the ire of the forest in a unique way and pay in the most gruesome ways. They enter the forest to take, but not to give, and the forests hate a bad deal. When a logging crew trespasses into the forest with the intention to strip away the sylvan expanse for gain, they are marked before the first axe falls. The earth god knows they mean harm from the moment they set out. As the loggers injure the forest and carve deep wounds into its heart, the forest fights back. Be it sightings of terrifying beings in the darkness of the night, be it men going mad and attacking their compatriots, it is all the will of the earth god being exacted by its silent disciples. I personally interviewed the foreman of a logging crew up in Maine who had a chilling story to tell. He was watching two of his workers fell an enormous pine tree. One man was preparing to carve out a wedge with a chainsaw while the other stood behind him with a sledgehammer. The one worker finished cutting a wedge into the 200-foot-tall titan. Then the other took his place and raised his hammer to knock the wedge out. When he raised his hammer and was moments from swinging, the first man revved his chainsaw and slammed it into the other's shoulder. Blood and viscera spewed from his torn chest cavity. The murderer dropped the chainsaw, which has wedged itself into his victim's rib cage. The foreman recounted the story up to this point with this faraway look. When he began to tell what happened after the murderer dropped his victim, the nerves washed over his face, and he began to sweat. The rest of his crew had fled in terror. He fled, but not in terror, no. He went to retrieve the hunting rifle stashed in his truck. The murderer turned around at the same time, and the foreman had placed him between his sights. He was covered in blood and produced a hunting knife from his pocket. The foreman told him once not to come any closer and dropped the knife. Then the murderer charged him in a whirlwind of madness. One bullet to the chest was all it took to drop him. At this point, the foreman was sweating bullets and shaking violently. He said he'll never forget the dead look on the madman's face as he charged him. It haunts him every night. He confided that he'll never return to the woods again. Then the foreman fell back in his chair with a look of exhaustion in his eyes. He allowed a single tear to fall, then stood up and left my office, visibly shaken. It is my conclusion that the trees possessed that man. They used him to settle the enormous debt the crew had racked up. If only they knew the price they would pay that day, and the price they'd pay the rest of their lives. Even after a man who is wounded or wronged the forest leaves, he is marked, and should he ever return, his punishment is waiting. The trees pass down their wisdom generation after generation. A tree will remember your grandfather walking by when it was just a sapling. It will remember your father climbing through its branches when it was an adolescent. It will remember you walking up to its base and admiring its beauty. It will also remember those who injure it, those who strip its bark, those who carve into its flesh. Physical distance from a forest you wronged is irrelevant, for they share their memories with all other forests. Every tree is connected to every other tree, and they seldom forget. This network existed long before humanity. The trees have been kind to bestow their knowledge of communication with humanity, but we as a species haven't appreciated their gifts. The forests grow angrier at this ungratefulness by the day. I understand the way I've portrayed the forests up to this point implies that they do not wish to let humanity harness their power. This is far from the case. The trees wish to give back to their flock, to help us. There are ways to take from the forest without angering its towering inhabitants. The most important tenet to remember is that you must respect the forest before you take from it. When you enter the tree line, you aren't in charge anymore. As much as humanity has tried to tame the woods, our efforts have little effect. When you enter a forest, you enter a silent chapel. Conduct yourself as such, for you are never walking truly alone. When you must cut a tree down, pay your mind to what you are doing. You are killing a powerful being that is connected to forces that yet defy understanding. Do not prolong the death. Make it as quick as possible, and use every piece of the tree. After the deed is done, observe the fruits of your labor and consider why you did what you did. Find the eldest tree in the forest and ask it for pardon. Then wait for the trees to decide if you deserve it. If you must clear land for farming or housing, once again you must find the elder tree. Pay your respects by spreading compost around its roots and kneel before it. Ask the elder for permission to clear the land. Tell it why it must be done, and then wait for a response. It will come in either a feeling of great dread, denoting a denial, or a feeling of serenity, denoting an approval. Conduct your business in a timely manner, free of cruelty. Do not burn live trees, as this is considered a great transgression, and will be remembered. I have spent my life studying the trees. I have become a great friend of theirs in the process. However, this status is only achieved with time. I will leave you with these final words. When you enter a forest, you are in somebody else's house, so conduct yourself accordingly. Thank you for sitting down and lending an ear to this fascinating story. The author was listed as one Professor Vetter. Absolutely no other information remains on the internet, or in any archive for that matter, of who this man was, so it's difficult to credit him. I would like to thank all of my dedicated viewers and subscribers. You guys make things like this possible. Good night.